Okay, everything else from this point on will be spoilers, so go read this. It's wonderful, very much worth a read, and it's a quick read. It really is. So, the story is about Vashti and Kuno goes to the surface, and all the people that the machine has kicked out and made what they call homeless. Everybody thought they were just dead, but the truth is they're starting to live on the surface of the planet. I assume the planet has cleansed the poisons from the atmosphere. And so he's excited about this prospect that there are humans that are not addicted to the machine. This machine starts to become religion. People start worshiping the machine. Kuno doesn't end up going to the surface. He ends up actually moving to a room closer to his mother, and eventually he calls her after many years with this strange message where he just says, the machine stops. And slowly all the things that they've come to rely on, their bathwater, their air, their light, the internet, all this stuff starts to fail. And what's happened is the part of the machine that was made to fix anything that breaks in the machine is breaking, and there's nothing to fix that. Humans have forgotten how to fix the machine. So humanity ends with the machine shutting down, and they're all in these underground caverns and rooms, and they all die, and it is epically dark and fantastic and so worth a read. And there's a lot of themes that he plays with throughout this, and I just want to read a couple of these. The first part of this that really took me was early on in the story, and this is when she's talking, Vishnu is talking to her son Kuno, and her son is begging her to come see him. So she's asking about the origin of an idea. Kuno presents an idea to his mother, and the idea is that he was looking up at the sky and he saw Orion, and Orion, there's no name for Orion anymore. People don't care about the stars, but he saw Orion and he's like, boy, that kind of looks like a person. And that was his idea, and he's presented this to his mother, and his mother responds, it does not strike me as a very good idea, but it certainly is original. When did it come to you first? In the airship, Kuno says. He broke off, and she fancied that he looked sad. She could not be sure, for the machine did not transmit nuances of expression. It only gave a general idea of people, an idea that was good enough for all practical purposes, Vashti thought. The imponderable bloom, declared by a discredited philosophy to be the actual essence of intercourse, was rightly ignored by the machine, just as the imponderable bloom of the grape was ignored by the manufacturers of artificial fruit. Something good enough had long since been accepted by our race. What a wild idea Forster's presenting here, right? This idea of, and I think about it when I eat foods, right? One of the things that a lot of people say about food here in the United States is that it's very, very, very processed. And I think that is the case. And slowly we have gotten used to the idea of the thing, right? Is a chicken nugget chicken? And I know that it is, but when you think of like a McDonald's chicken nugget, am I allowed to talk about specific companies on YouTube? My brother, when we were growing up, Jason, he called it exploded chicken. Is that, and he's right, it's all the same texture throughout the chicken. And I remember when I was younger and I found out that there's only like 3 chicken nugget shapes. Because I, of course, mistakenly believed that chicken nuggets had infinite numbers of shapes because they were pieces of chicken deep fried. But they're not. This is not the thing itself, but a close enough interpretation of the idea. And then going further into the concept that people that are friends in this world over this machine, you can't truly be a part of their body language. You can't truly know what it is to experience a moment with them when you're experiencing that moment over a machine. Is that connected to the internet of today? I don't know. That's a huge topic. My daughter has many friends all across the world, and she's very close to all of them. But does she actually interact if she's not interacting in person? It's a great question, and it's one that I think Ian Forster was bringing up all the way in 1909. Incredible. Another interesting moment. Cannot you see, cannot all you lecturers see that it is we that are dying, and that down here the only thing that really lives is the machine? We created the machine to do our will, but we cannot make it do our will now. It has robbed us of the sense of space and of the sense of touch. It has blurred every human relation and narrowed down love to a carnal act. It has paralyzed our bodies and our wills, and now it compels us to worship it. The machine develops, but not on our lies. The machine proceeds, but not to our goal. We only exist as the blood corpuscles that course through its arteries, and if it could work without us, it would let us die. Oh, I have no remedy, or at least only one, to tell men again and again that I have seen the hills of Wessex, as Alfred saw them when he overthrew the Danes. There was a reviewer that talked about this book and talked about the fact that he read it in COVID and how it was this perfect thing to read while being isolated in the house. And I think that's really, truly brilliant. I don't want to stand here and be like, we're losing everything or whatever. I don't want to be a grumpy old man. I want to be an old man that is full of curiosity and a love for life. And I think part of that is being curious about the world around us. And it's interesting to me that I've learned a term recently that my daughter says quite often, and that is to touch grass or go touch grass, which means go outside, which is a term that when I was growing up we never had. Right? We did have go outside, but so much of our time was spent outside that we didn't need to tell people to go outside. And that's not true. There were points when my parents told me to come inside. There were also points when my parents told me, there were points when my parents told me to go outside, and there were also points when they had to force me to come inside. But I like this concept of the machine taking over and although they feel that it is only existing for them, in reality, it exists for itself. And I feel like if you think about machine logic, this makes sense in that it has to keep humanity safe, but it also has to keep itself doing the job that it was given. I assume that would be its highest priority. And this last part is really interesting, in my opinion. Advanced thinkers, like Vashti, had always held it foolish to visit the surface of the earth. Airships might be necessary, but what was the good of going out for mere curiosity and crawling along for a mile or two in a terrestrial motor? The habit was vulgar and perhaps faintly improper. It was unproductive of ideas and had no connection with the habits that really mattered. So respirators were abolished, and with them, of course, the terrestrial motors. And except for a few lecturers who complained that they were debarred access to their subject matter, the development was accepted quietly. Those who still wanted to know what the earth was like had, after all, only to listen to some gramophone or to look into some cinematophote. That's an interesting word. And even the lecturers acquiesced when they found that a lecture on the sea was none the less stimulating when compiled out of other lectures that had already been delivered on the same subject. Beware of first-hand ideas, exclaimed one of the most advanced of them. First-hand ideas do not really exist. They are but the physical impressions produced by life and fear, and on this gross foundation, who could erect a philosophy? Let your ideas be second-hand, and if possible, tenth-hand, for then they will be far removed from that disturbing element, direct observation. Do not learn anything about this subject of mine, the French Revolution. Learn instead what I think Annie Charman thought, Urizen thought, Gooch thought, Ho Young thought, Chibo Singh thought, Lafcadio Hearn thought, Carlyle thought, Mirabeau said about the French Revolution. I'm sorry if I slaughtered a lot of those names. Through the medium of these 10 great minds, the blood that was shed at Paris and the windows that were broken at Versailles will be clarified to an idea which you may employ most profitably in your daily lives. But be sure that the intermediates are many and varied, for in history one authority exists to counteract another. Urizen might counteract the skepticism of Ho Jung and Nicharman. I don't know how to say that person's name. I myself must counteract the impetuosity of Gooch. You who listen to me are in a better position to judge about the French Revolution than I am. Your descendants will be even in a better position than you, for they will learn what you think I think, and yet another intermediate will be added to the chain, and in time... His voice rose. There will come a generation that had got beyond facts, beyond impressions, a generation absolutely colorless, a generation seraphically free from taint or personality, which will see the French Revolution not as it happened, nor as they would like it to have happened, but as it would have happened had it taken place in the days of the machine. I don't even know where to start with this concept. This is wild, because at first I was like, oh man, this is crazy. Like he's starting with the actual facts of the event. And then he's saying it's best to ignore those facts and listen to what people think when they start to put a spin on the events of the French Revolution, right? So listen to this person's spin and this person's spin, even though they can cancel each other out. Keep listening to that. And then eventually you'll create an echo chamber, which is, I thought, the point Forster was getting to. And I thought it was very prophetic for times now. I feel like in many ways, no matter where you are politically, we have a tendency at this time to immerse ourselves in echo chambers. I'm guilty of this. I do everything in my power to try to constantly get ideas that are different from mine, because that's how critical thinking grows, and that's how our brains grow, is by constantly having our own ideas challenged so that we can either defend them and build up our knowledge of the complexity of our beliefs, or they can be disproven and we can change our beliefs. That's how critical thinking works. But Forster goes even farther beyond this into the concept that he just wants to blitz out everything by having so many people between discussing this event that all facts are lost, and it becomes this vague fan fiction concept of what it would be like if they experienced the French Revolution in their time when the machine was around. It's about the total embracing of the loss of critical thinking. This is wild. This is a dark vision of the future, and I hope it's not the one that we'll end up in. But, we have to see. I think critical thinking happens more than people think, but I do think it's also declining. And I do think that we are all guilty of not critically thinking at times, of blindly believing our bias. And I know that one side loves to think, oh, we're the side that thinks critically and right all the time, and the other side is the side that doesn't. That's bullshit. Everybody has bias. Everybody fails to critically think at times. So, I think this... I haven't been this excited about science fiction in a while, but I also haven't been this philosophically stimulated in a long time. What a wild read. Go grab this. I'd love to hear your thoughts. This is going to be an interesting comments section. I hope nobody fights, but that we have awesome discussions about the crazy philosophy presented in this book. Okay, that was a wild video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I hope that you read this, and I will see you next time.